Wait, is that you, Tyler? I couldn't recognize you with those glasses on. What are you doing here? What? Hold on a minute, Lena. How do you know him? That's because he's our CEO, right, Mr. Parker? That's funny. My name is Tyler Parker, and I'm a 25-year-old. I grew up in a very poor household, to the point where we often struggled to find food for the day. Because of our shabby clothes, my parents, my brother, and I were often ridiculed by my classmates. Especially in middle school, a classmate named Alex looked down on me and laughed crudely. My parents worked from early in the morning until late at night every day. So, I sometimes cooked for them and waited at home, or I'd wait at my equally poor grandfather's house. The reason we were so poor was that both of my parents only had a middle school education. Their families were very poor, so they started working right after middle school to support their families financially. So, both my father and mother started working right after they graduated from middle school. But the jobs available to someone with just a middle school education are limited, and no matter how hard they worked, our lives never became prosperous. Eventually, I was born, followed by my brother. People around them said don't have kids if you're poor, or you have to pay for your poverty, but I'm glad I was born. To me, my parents, who worked hard for us despite the poverty, were superstars, and I deeply respected them. That's why it made me so angry when Alex and others made fun of us. My parents wanted to send me to high school, but I didn't want that. I wanted at least my brother to go to high school and, if possible, to college. Since he was much smarter than me, I believed he had the potential to get into a good university. So, I decided to work as soon as I graduated from middle school. My brother, with tears in his eyes, apologized saying, "I'm really sorry if this is all for me," but as his older brother, I thought it was so natural to work for his sake. The job was tough, and I was often yelled at by my seniors and bosses, but I could endure it thinking it was for my family. Seeing everyone in their school uniforms going to high school made me a bit envious, though. Of course, it was the path I chose, but I still wished I could enjoy my youth with everyone else. I wanted to join a school club, share thrilling moments, and hang out at shops after school. But I had to work hard for my family and my brother. Time flied so fast, I was in my 20s. My brother became a college student, just as I had hoped. I was proud of him. He worked hard in his job to do even more for our family. One day, I received an email. The sender was none other than Alex. We hadn't exchanged email addresses directly, so he must have gotten it from someone else. I was afraid why he would email me, but I decided to open it. The email said, "We're having a small gathering and I want you to come. There will be cute girls. It's just me, you, and 2 girls, both of whom are receptionists at companies and are really cute. Well, you are just there to make us look good." I was like, what the hell is this email? But I called the number in email anyway. Alex answered cheerfully, saying, "I'm glad you read my email. The gathering is next Saturday, and the girls are super cute. I'm really looking forward to it. They're from companies A and B, both very pretty. I'd be okay with either of them confessing to me. Just come to fill the numbers. I'm counting on you. So, I'm just there to make up the numbers, right? Couldn't you find anyone else?" I asked around, but everyone else was busy. "You're a freelancer, so I thought you'd be available. So, see you next Saturday at Vino, the dining bar." All right, I got it. It sounded like a hassle, but I had no plans that day. So, I decided to see what it was about. On Saturday, I went to Vino, a fancy dining bar. As I entered, I saw Alex already seated, waving me over. "Over here, you've never been to a fancy place like this, have you?" Well, someone like me, a Harvard grad and an elite employee at a global company, can afford it. But working for a global company means I hardly have time to date. It's great being a freelancer. You can always hang out. Just the other day, my boss suddenly told me to go to San Francisco, and I had to rush there. I'm exhausted. But that's life for a Harvard grad and an elite salesperson at a global company. It seems he loves to talk about being a Harvard graduate and an elite employee at a well-known global company. While it's genuinely impressive that he graduated from Harvard and got a job at an elite global company, his constant boasting is annoying. I thought to myself that someone who is truly confident wouldn't need to boast about their education or achievements. I see. You must be really busy then. Well, I'm pretty busy too, so I don't really have time to hang out with girls. What? You're always free. What are you talking about? But then again, you're not much to look at. So it makes sense that you're not popular with the ladies. Guys like me, who graduated from Harvard and work in elite global companies, and are decent looking, have girls flocking to us. But you're here to mingle. Doesn't that mean you don't have a girlfriend? I retaliated with that. Then, Alex suddenly became defensive and pissed off. You don't get it. I can choose any girl I want, but I don't like girls who are too assertive. I prefer cute girls who make me want to protect them over the mannish women at my company. I don't need a career woman who earns as much as I do. It seems his pride is as high as the Himalayas, and he dislikes women who earn as much or more than he does. In global companies, where there's no gender discrimination, both men and women must be incredibly busy, and women should be earning a considerable salary too. But Alex talks about male pride and other petty matters, showing how small-minded he is. I wanted to say that's probably why he doesn't have a girlfriend, but since I don't have one either, I decided to keep quiet. Then, two girls entered. Sorry to keep you waiting. We got a bit lost on the way. I was a bit confused about the directions too. It's fine. It's not even the meeting time yet. We just got here early. Come and sit here, surrounding me. Okay, got it. Excuse me, then. Before we order drinks, let's introduce ourselves. Girls first, please. I'm Lena. I work at the reception of Company A. I'm still new, but I'm doing my best. My hobby is crafting. Wow, you do crafting. That's amazing. What do you make? Well, like crochet, and I knit scarves when it's winter. Cool. Knit me a scarf too. Do you use a sewing machine? Can you make clothes? Yes, I sometimes use a sewing machine. I can make simple clothes. Then, I'd like you to make something for me too. Okay. Lena looked at Alex as a freak because he was clearly spoony on her, being led by the nose. Then the other girl began her introduction. I'm Chloe. I work at the reception of Company B. Lena and I were classmates in college. We both attended the same St. Sophia University. Well, St. Sophia, that's a prestigious university. So, your family must be quite wealthy. Well, I guess they are. Hey, where's your family home? Tell me. It's in Beverly Hills. Wow, that's really wealthy. I love girls from rich families. Is that so? Alex was laughing in a creepy way again, making Chloe uncomfortable as well. I felt sorry for the girls. Sitting next to someone as creepy as him must feel like a punishment of a game. Then Alex kept talking about himself. I'm Alex. I graduated from Harvard, just so you know. Harvard, after graduating, I joined a global company P and have been working hard as a salesman. It's really tough every day. If I can make it back by the last train, I consider myself lucky. Currently, I live in a high-rise condo because I'm earning nearly $100,000 a year. At this age, I'm close to $100,000. Insane, right? Well, I'm highly regarded at my company, so by the time I'm 30, I expect to earn $100,000 to $120,000 easily. That's why I plan for my future wife to be a stay-at-home wife. With my earnings, I can afford a high-rise condo and support a housewife. No problem. After all, I'm a Harvard graduate and an elite employee at a global company. The girls seemed very disinterested in his lengthy self-promotion. They probably wanted to order drinks already. After Alex's introduction, we finally ordered some drinks. I was about to introduce myself when Alex rudely interrupted. "This is Tyler, a classmate from my middle school days, who I used to pick on, because he's just a middle school graduate and poor. It's hilarious, right? In this day and age, being a middle school graduate is just pathetic. Sorry, Lena, Chloe. He's just here to make up the numbers, so feel free to fight over me." "What? Wait a sec. What? What's wrong, Lena? Is something the matter?" "Wait, aren't you Mr. Parker, our CEO? I didn't recognize you with those glasses on. What are you doing here?" "What? Hold on, Lena. How do you know him?" "That's because he's our CEO, right, Mr. Parker?" "Yes." Lena was an employee in my company, and I am the CEO of Company A. Lena works for Company A, which is actually our company. Didn't you know that? I never thought that was possible. I mean, who would imagine that the CEO of the super famous venture company A would be you? After all, you're just a middle school graduate. Lena and Chloe sat down next to me, leaving Alex bewildered. He had assumed his elite status would naturally make him popular with the ladies, but that wasn't the case. "Are you looking down on the CEO like that? Mr. Parker is an incredible person. He's focused on providing educational opportunities to everyone, investing a lot in various educational programs. It's somewhat shameful to be obsessed with academic background after becoming an adult." Exactly. No matter if you graduated from Harvard, looking down and belittling others is questionable. I think people who lack self-confidence tend to be boastful. "We don't care about your high-rise condo bragging. But I live in a high-rise condo. I'm definitely superior. No way you could match a Harvard grad." Actually, Mr. Parker also lives in a high-rise condo, but he doesn't boast about it. We once visited his place with a few colleagues, and he didn't show off at all. It's that luxury condo in Manhattan. Wait, is it Manhattan XX? Yay, that's right. I'm currently living in a Manhattan high-rise. I didn't feel the need to tell everyone, only those who needed to know. We occasionally have parties at my place, inviting colleagues and family. It wasn't like I was keeping it a secret from Alex. There was just no benefit in telling him, so I kept quiet. "So, you were looking down on me all along. Your income must be way above mine, you jerk." "Well, I don't like to mention it, but my executive compensation is around $5 billion. Earning too much can affect the company's management." "Billion? $5 billion what? Fine. I don't care about you anymore. Do whatever you want, you bottom feeder." "That's a bit harsh. What kind of way is that to speak? I didn't think you were that kind of person. We came here because we heard Alex was a nice and kind person, but this is just the worst." "Right, if we knew he was such an arrogant and domineering person, we wouldn't have come." "I'm leaving. Pay for this." Alex pulled out some bills from his wallet and practically threw them at me. The look on his face was one of unbearable frustration, clearly indicating he was quite irritated. I might be a middle school graduate, but I managed to carve out my own path and dream of owning a company. Having struggled without a high school education, I understood the importance of education. Even amidst poverty, life might have been a bit if I had received scholarships or welfare assistance. My parents, being able-bodied, felt it was shameful to receive welfare and chose not to apply, despite our dire financial situation. They probably felt embarrassed about it. However, there's nothing shameful about receiving welfare. A decent standard of living is a right guaranteed to all citizens, and those struggling in poverty should take advantage of it. With welfare support, I could have attended high school, and with a separated household, even college could have been an option. However, reality isn't so simple. Many can't receive aid due to various reasons, or fail to attend college even after household separation. I started an education business to help people make a fresh start. In particular, I created a platform that makes it easier for children who can't afford tutoring due to poverty to learn, and the company is run with donations and investments from investors. Through this, some kids improved their grades enough to become scholarship students, exempt from tuition fees. I felt I was making a difference in the world through this business. Alex claimed he didn't know I was the CEO of Company A, but that's something he could have easily found out with a little research. He just assumed I was a freeter because of my educational background. But it's wrong to think that a middle school graduate can only be a freeter. Regardless of circumstances, people can overcome and succeed. Really, you look like a different person with glasses on, Mr. Parker. Do you wear them often? Actually, I don't think glasses suit me much, so I usually wear contact lenses, but I ran out today, so I had to wear glasses. Is that so? It's amazing, Mr. Parker. Our Company B is also in the education sector, but you're still so young. May I ask how old you are? I'm 25. Wow, that's really young. Lena and I are fresh graduates, so you probably know our ages. You're such a capable CEO. Exactly. Mr. Parker is always hard at work and so cool. Always dressed sharply in a suit, walking with confidence. You think so? Hey Lena, do you like Mr. Parker or something? You've been talking passionately about him. Hey, wait, that's not, I mean. There you go, getting all flustered. Lena always panics like this when she's trying to hide something. It's so obvious. It's not like that. Stop teasing me, Chloe. You're mean. Why don't you just date Mr. Parker then? Right, Mr. Parker? Well, I mean, I had never had a girlfriend before, so I was quite nervous. Chloe seemed to enjoy teasing us, laughing innocently as she did. She appeared refined, but I thought maybe she had a fun side too. Lena, on the other hand, looked embarrassed by Chloe's teasing and shyly looked down. Trying to hide her embarrassment, Lena sipped her drink, her face turning red, even if it contained alcohol. The thought that maybe Lena liked me, as Chloe suggested, made my heart race. My heart was pounding, and it wasn't just the alcohol. I started to wonder if I had romantic feelings for Lena too. She was always friendly, greeting visitors and our employees warmly. She was incredibly dedicated to her job, to the extent that I sometimes wondered if she was pushing herself too hard. However, no matter how difficult things became, she never complained or expressed any negativity. Lena always said, "Let's do our best today," whenever we passed by each other. Her energetic and bright demeanor might have drawn me to her gradually. After paying the bill, we left the restaurant. Lena and Chloe walked in the same direction, and I took the train home. I usually have a chauffeur, but I didn't want to call him out on a Saturday. At home, I found myself lost in thoughts about Lena. Maybe I really liked Lena. When Chloe teased us, Lena also seemed embarrassed. Maybe she really did like me. The thought made my chest ache, and I couldn't sleep. No matter how much I tried to distract myself, I couldn't stop thinking about her. From that day on, Lena occupied most of my thoughts, even during work. I tried to shake it off, thinking it wasn't fitting for a CEO to be so distracted. But every idle moment brought thoughts of her. Lena continued to greet me cheerily. But she wouldn't meet my eyes, making me wonder if she disliked me. Maybe she wasn't pleased to be liked by someone like me, a middle school graduate. I thought I knew nothing about women's feelings. But one day, Lena called me out, and I nervously followed her. I've been avoiding you lately, Mr. Parker, and I'm sorry. It's not because I dislike you or anything. Yeah, but I thought it'd be understandable if you hated me. After all, like Alex said, I'm just a middle school graduate and nothing special. It must be annoying to have someone like me as your boss. I don't mean to act high and mighty, but being the CEO, you might feel obliged to be careful around me, but you don't have to worry about that with me. I'm just running the business and everyone has their own struggles. Lena, you're amazing for never complaining, even when you're tired. Sorry if that sounded condescending. No, that's not. Ever since Chloe teased me that day, I can't stop thinking about you, Mr. Parker. I just couldn't face you because I was too embarrassed. I'm really sorry. Wait, hold on. Does that mean you like me? Don't make me say it out loud. It means I've been thinking about you. Oh no, I can't believe I just said that. Lena, I've been feeling the same way about you, but I didn't have the courage to say anything. Even though I'm the CEO, I'm still just a middle school grad, and I didn't think I had the right to confess to someone as accomplished as you. I'm sorry. I'm not very reliable, but my feelings for you are stronger than anyone else's. I've liked you for so long. Please, will you be my girlfriend? Really? You want to be my boyfriend? I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Maybe we could call each other by our first names in private. We're going to be a couple, after all. Sure, but I can't think of anything. What should I call you? Just Tyler is fine. That felt weird to say. Then it's settled, Tyler. Don't worry, it's fine. So, if we get married, I'll become an Parker too. Marriage, isn't that a bit soon? We'll get there eventually. Just think about it. I realized then that Lena was quite forward. Though she was always bright and cheerful, her assertiveness caught me off guard, not being used to such attention from women. But it was her that I was drawn to. After that, Lena and I started calling each other by our first names off work and even went on dates. Not knowing what girls might like, I learned from Twitter and Instagram for ideas. Not using social media by myself, I noticed everyone posted about fancy restaurants and cafes. Especially young women seem to love posting pictures of delicious-looking pancakes and parfaits. Girls do like sweets, but there are those who prefer savory. What if Lena is dieting and doesn't want sweets, but she's slender, so she probably doesn't need to diet? Despite girls often liking sweets, many are also focused on dieting. It's a bit of a contradiction, wanting to slim down, but also craving sweet and delicious treats. But it's precisely these quirks that make girls so endearing to me. Now, I'm not struggling financially, but my favorite places are still the simple diners. There's one I've been going to since middle school, known for its generous portions. Back in middle school, my family was extremely poor, so I only got to eat at that diner once. That was definitely when I received some birthday money from someone. Given our extreme poverty, we never got birthday money from family, so it must have been from a neighbor. I ran to the diner with my wallet clutched tightly in hand. There, I ate a large serving of fried chicken set meal, so delicious that it brought tears to my eyes. I had never been full before, and the kind lady at the diner let me wash dishes in exchange for the meal, so I did that for 30 minutes before heading home. Ever since becoming wealthier, I've made it a point to visit that diner frequently. Having only ever hung out in guy-dominated spots, I spent 3 hours agonizing over where to take Lena. I even questioned what I was doing to myself. Sorry to keep you waiting. Hey, Lena. I heard we were going to a fancy cafe, so I dressed up. You look great. Remember, no need for formalities when we're off work. Okay, I'll speak casually then. Do you go to cafes often, Tyler? Not really. I'm getting a bit nervous. I don't usually go to fancy places either. Really? I would have thought you're the type to frequent chic spots. Maybe not as much as you think. And so, we arrived at a cafe. It was a vegetarian cafe, which seems to be the trend these days. I'm not vegetarian, but I figured girls tend to like vegetables and fruits. Well, this place is stylish. These drinks look delicious, but it's hard to choose. This lemon and orange cocktail soda is supposed to be good. It's refreshing for summer, right? Yuzu ginger sounds nice too. The glasses are so cute. I'll go with the lemon. And is it okay if I order some food? Sure, order whatever you like. I'll have the vegan burger then. Oh, not something sweet. Actually, I'm not big on sweets. Really? Sorry, I just assumed all girls like sweets. Don't worry about it. When I was little, I got a birthday cake and tried to eat it all by myself. Ended up feeling sick, and I've been put off sweets ever since. It's kind of embarrassing. That's surprising. The thought of Lena gobbling down a cake was so unexpected that I couldn't help but laugh a little. However, this resulted in me getting a slight scolding from her. When our drinks and food arrived, Lena was enjoying her vegan burger with apparent delight. She was impressed that such a flavor could be achieved without meat. I was just glad to see her enjoying it. After some chopping and wandering around, Lena's stomach growled. Wait, was that burger not enough? I thought, a bit surprised. Considering it was quite large, I assumed it would be more than enough to satisfy a girl. Sorry, I tend to eat a lot, and the burger alone wasn't enough. Does that bother you? Not at all. Sorry for assuming one burger would be enough. I've never really dated anyone before. If you're up for it, I know a great place. Where is it? It's a diner known for its large servings. It's a bit rough around the edges, and I wasn't sure about taking you there. Yay, I love big servings. I sometimes go on solo diner tours for the largest plates. Really? I had no idea. So, I took Lena to that diner I mentioned. She devoured a huge plate of Neapolitan pasta at an incredible pace, making me think she could be a competitive eater. Some girls might worry that eating a lot could turn guys off, but I believe as long as someone enjoys their food, whether they eat a little or a lot is fine for me. Lena's way of eating was voracious yet graceful, and it was delightful to watch her enjoying her meal. A year later, we get married and held a wedding ceremony. At the wedding, Lena's best friend Chloe was in tears. According to Lena, Chloe had always been like an older sister to her since their university days, protecting Lena despite being the same age. I'm so glad Lena has found happiness in marriage. It was meant to be for Lena and Tyler. Please stay close forever. Chloe, you are crying too much. Your makeup is running. It's okay. I'll fix it later. Lena, you're a beautiful bride now. From now on, you two must support each other. Thank you, Chloe, for celebrating with us. We'll do our best together as a couple. If you ever make Lena cry, I won't forgive you. I promise to always protect her. And now, Lena, my wife, works with me at the company. She's still doing a great job at the reception desk. But one day, Lena surprised me with the news that she was pregnant. I was shocked and speechless. I never imagined I'd have a child. Though we were trying for a baby, it still hadn't quite sunk in. Later, Lena gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. My family has grown, giving me even more reason to work hard for their sake. No matter what happens, I must continue to strive for my family's well-being. Lena plans to return to work after her maternity leave, and I intend to support her. While I could support us on my income alone, Lena takes pride in her work. I respect her for that and want to leave her work decisions up to her. My name is Jake. I turned 30 this past summer. Later today, I'm planning to attend a reunion with my middle school classmates. I've never been to a reunion before, so I'm really excited. I wonder how everyone has changed. I moved away right after graduating from middle school, so I hadn't seen any of my classmates since then. I've received notices about reunions before, but I was never able to attend due to work commitments. However, this time they seem to be making a big deal out of it being our 30th, as mentioned in the invitation. Plus, I got a call from my good friend Mike too. Jake, you have to come to the next reunion. Everyone talks about you every time. They all want to see you. Plus, I'm organizing it this time. I've gone the extra mile to book a really nice place, so you've got to come. I haven't actually met Mike since we graduated, but he always sends me Christmas cards and gets in touch every few years. He's a really great guy. Thanks. It looks like I can make it this time. Really, I'm looking forward to it. Since Mike went out of his way to invite me and my work has finally settled down a bit, I decided that I should definitely attend this time. Looking back, my middle school years were certainly a tumultuous time. I was born in a small fishing village. There, I spent a happy childhood. My family of 4, including my parents, me, and my sister, lived by the sea. I grew up in freedom, surrounded by nature. The region had the sea, rivers, and mountains, so every day felt like an adventure. My parents ran a seafood processing plant there. They employed about 50 people. It was a significant local business. My dad was the president of this plant business, but he was never arrogant about it. He was very approachable, and the employees felt like friends. As his son, I felt cherished by the employees. When I went to school in the morning, everyone would say, "Have a good day, Jake. Study hard." When I returned, they'd invite me, "Jake, welcome back. Let's have some snacks together." It felt like living in a big extended family. This was all thanks to my parents' popularity, but I genuinely felt well cared for by everyone around. My father worked mainly on land, handling the processing part of the business, but sometimes he'd go out on the fishing boats. You can't work with sea products without understanding the sea. It's important to see and experience everything firsthand. He always seemed happy saying this, and he often invited me along. "Jake, you coming?" Of course, I always eagerly followed him. Fishing days required waking up early and helping with preparations. But the excitement of fishing outweighed everything. As the sun rose, I'd board the fishing boat with my father. There's much to do on a boat. You can catch fish by just sitting there, and hesitating can even be dangerous. Yet, my father never raised his voice. Instead, while maneuvering the large boat, he'd smile and say, "Wonder what fish we'll catch today." Seeing his smile, I felt as if the world was wrapped in a blanket of safety. I learned about fishing, one lesson at a time, from my father. And I understood the difficulty of catching fish and the gratitude for our catch. After fishing, when I returned home, my mother would be waiting for us, with a feast ready for breakfast. Frankly, my mother's cooking was the best. She was truly a great cook. Moreover, using fresh fish and seafood, our family meals were always abundant. "Yummy, this is so good today. This is what they call the taste of home, right? What mom makes is the best food on earth." If you praise me like that, I'll end up making even more dishes. Make sure to eat a lot, everyone. Our meals were always filled with such laughter. Thanks to my mother's warm cooking, I learned to appreciate the deliciousness of seafood. Living in a coastal town, the sound of the waves was always present. I remember the comforting sounds of my father and the fishermen talking, and my mother's singing. In this blissful space, I often played with Mike. We built sand castles on the beach and chased crabs near the water's edge. As the sunset dyed the sea orange, we shared our dreams for the future. "Jake, you're going to take over your dad's business and become the president, right?" "I'm not sure yet, but I want to create something even more delicious. Everything my dad makes is tasty, but I want to invent something even better." "Man, just hearing that makes me hungry. You've got to let me try it when you do." Time flew by with such carefree conversations. And when I returned home, a warm family awaited me. "Jake, I prepared this especially for you." One day, when my dad returned from work, he held a small ship model in his hand. I shouted with joy, imagining adventures sailing the uncharted seas with that ship. "Jake, you should live the life you love. The boat sailing into the future is yours alone." With my mother smiling gently, I resolved to pursue my hidden dreams. But soon, in my second year of middle school, that happiness would drastically change. Little did I know then that my father's factory would cast a dark shadow over my life. It happened one day in my second year of middle school. A day I'll never forget, when my happy days suddenly crumbled. That day, I came first in the school's relay race, and lunch was pizza, my favorite. It was supposed to be the best day. I ran home, eager to tell my parents about the relay. I planned to drop off my backpack and immediately head to the factory. But when I got home, I saw my parents, who should have been at the factory, sitting in the living room. "Huh? Why aren't you at the factory today?" "Well, it doesn't matter. Actually, today as I started to speak energetically, I noticed my parents looked different. Their expressions were clouded. Yet, my mother tried to smile bravely. But her eyes betrayed a sadness, as if she was carrying a heavy burden. My father let out a deep sigh, and his gaze towards me was heavy with apology. "Jake, there's something I need to tell you." Confused but sensing something was wrong from my parents' demeanor, I listened. "The thing is, our factory," my father began to explain, bit by bit. "A relative who managed a factory faced financial difficulties and accumulated a huge debt. This relative had to leave, and the debt fell on our family. I'm sorry, Jake. I never wanted you to suffer like this." My mother's words hit me with surprise and a sense of injustice, even as a child. Taking on the relative's debt meant our happy days were abruptly taken away, a harsh reality. 3 months later, the factory was closed. The warm times by the sea instantly turned cold. My parents were busy finding new jobs for the employees and arranging funds to pay their salaries till the end. The debt engulfed my father's smile, my mother's singing, and our family's laughter in a cloud of gloom. In truth, I had always dreamed of becoming a top-notch businessman. I wanted to expand and make my father's company more famous. Since I was little, I had studied diligently for that one goal. I had hoped to take over the factory and bring new possibilities to our local fishing village. However, the factory's closure and the relative's debt derailed my plans for further education. Not only was my dream of university fading, but even attending high school seemed out of reach. I needed to work to help repay the debt. Suddenly, the reality of having to work instead of studying stood in my way. Even though we lived in a rural area, none of my middle school friends had to start working right after graduation. Everyone was moving on to their desired high schools. In this context, the reality of being the only one to work right after middle school was hard to bear. "Jake, is it true you're not going to high school?" "Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I want at least my sister to be able to go to high school. I'll work." "I see. I thought we could hang out in high school too, but I guess you have no choice. Stay strong, man." "Yeah, thanks." Right after my middle school graduation, our family moved out of town to a small apartment in the neighboring county. Frankly, our lives took a 180-degree turn. Life was always hard, and the days of having a full stomach were gone. With both my parents working non-stop to repay the debt, we couldn't even spend time together as a family. That's one reason why I never felt inclined to attend reunions. The town, once filled with wonderful memories, had become a place of painful experiences. Of course, being busy at work was one thing, but the hesitation to return was real. Yet, today, I felt ready to face my past. As I headed to the reunion venue, lost in thought, Mike called me. "Jake, do you know where the restaurant is? It's an Italian place called Mare. If you're not sure, just search it online. It's very popular recently. Getting a reservation there was quite a task." "Yeah, I know where it is. I may be a bit late, but I'll definitely be there." "Great, we'll be waiting. Almost everyone's coming today. They're all excited to see you, wondering how you've changed. You were quite the popular guy among us, after all." "Hey, no need to put that kind of pressure on me." Standing there, I looked at its exterior. It reminded me of a place I saw long ago. That night, I was wandering aimlessly through the town streets alone. In the new place we moved to after middle school, I knew no one. My parents were always at work, hardly ever home. Having grown up in a big family-like environment with the factory employees, those days were unbearably lonely for me. Moreover, months after graduating, I still hadn't found a job. Even in the countryside, there were hardly any job opportunities for a middle school graduate. Unable to find work and unsure of what to do, I spent my days aimlessly. It happened on a particularly lonely night. My parents hadn't returned from work, and my sister was staying at our grandmother's. As I walked through the town at night, just then, I smelled a delicious scent. Drawn by the smell, I opened the door of a restaurant and was greeted by a warm light and the delicious scent of food. "Welcome," a cheerful voice called from the back, and I turned around. I saw a kind-looking middle-aged man. He welcomed me with a bright smile, and I felt a comfort I had never experienced before. "Alone, huh? Did the smell of food bring you in?" The man who spoke to me with a kind smile was Ronald, the restaurant's owner. "No, I didn't come to eat. I'm looking for a job. Work. Well, anyway, are you hungry? I'll make something for you. Just have a seat over there," Ronald said and disappeared into the kitchen, quickly preparing something. Soon, he came out with a large plate, handed me a fork, and said, "Here, eat up." What he made for me was aquapazza. The simple yet flavorful dish, highlighting the taste of fish, amazed me from the first bite. Moreover, since moving to this town, I rarely had the chance to eat a warm meal. My mother, who worked nights, would leave food, but it was always cold by the time I ate. The piping hot dish, with its pronounced garlic flavor, captivated me instantly. As I eagerly devoured the aquapazza, Ronald smiled and said, "You're looking for a job, right? How about working here? We're short-staffed at the moment." He extended a friendly smile and offered his hand. Surprised, I instinctively shook his hand. I felt a comforting warmth from Ronald's grasp. "What's your name?" "Ah, Jake." "Jake, somehow, your face seems familiar. Oh, aren't you the son of the guy who ran the seafood processing plant?" I was genuinely surprised to meet someone who knew about me in such an unexpected place. "Yes, my father did work with seafood in a factory, but..." "Right, the factory suddenly closed down, didn't it?" "Yes. It was really unfortunate. Actually, we used to source some products from your company. They were fresh and delicious. I was shocked when they suddenly disappeared. It was a real loss." I hesitantly shared my past and present circumstances with Ronald. I told him everything, about giving up my dream of further studies to work right after middle school, the factory closure, and the relative's debt issue. Ronald listened intently to my story, his face filled with sympathy and understanding. "So, you decided to work instead of going to high school. That's not an easy decision. You're really commendable." For the first time, I felt like someone else understood my situation, and it eased my loneliness. Ronald's words lit a new hope in my heart. "You're not just looking for any job, are you? You have a dream, right?" Ronald asked, and I nodded honestly. I shared my passions and hopes for the future, which I had kept to myself until then. Ronald listened with a deeply moved expression and then made a surprising suggestion. "Why don't you work here? You can also learn about restaurant management. I might be able to help you achieve your dream." His words filled me with excitement and gratitude. Ronald's kindness and understanding were a lifeline for me. That day, I finally found a job. I decided to work hard in the restaurant while steadily moving towards my dream. Standing in front of the reunion venue, I reminisced about that fateful day. After a moment of reflection, I opened the door to the restaurant. As soon as I did, I was greeted by a gathering of familiar faces. It almost felt like an illusion, as if I had been transported back to my middle school days. "Hey, Jake, finally, you're here. We've been waiting for you." Mike's voice drew everyone's attention to me. As they turned around, one after another approached me with smiles. "Jake, long time no see. How have you been?" "Jake, you haven't changed a bit, just like in middle school." Familiar faces gathered around, greeting me warmly. My heart swelled with happiness. "I'm really glad I came here today," I said sincerely. However, amidst the crowd, one man was glaring at me with evident displeasure. He was occasionally clicking his tongue. It was Tom. He was someone I've known since elementary school who, for some reason, had always seen me as a rival. Probably it was because I had slightly better grades than him. Tom had been attending tutoring since elementary school, rare for a rural kid. He was probably frustrated that he couldn't beat me in test scores. More than a decade later, his hostility towards me was still apparent. Tom looked at me coldly and deliberately spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "Look, Jake is here. Isn't he a middle school dropout? It's surprising he has the nerve to show up at a reunion like this," Tom said loudly, making sure everyone could hear him as he pointed at me. The crowd momentarily showed expressions of surprise, but some sneered upon hearing Tom's words. "Hey, Jake, what's it like being a dropout? I can imagine not going to high school or college. I mean, I graduated from a prestigious private university and work at a top bank, so it's hard to relate to a dropout's life. Our worlds are just so different." Tom approached me with a self-satisfied smile, proud of his own words. I was a bit taken aback but decided to respond calmly. The elite world must have its own challenges, right? With quotas and office politics. Tom let out an exaggerated sigh and said with a sneer, "Of course, there are. The elite have their own problems, but you'll never understand that, will you, Jake?" "Maybe so. Everyone has their struggles. I have mine too, but I take pride in my work now, including the lessons I've learned from my past experiences." Tom's smirk grew wider at my words. "Pride? What do you mean? What could a dropout like you possibly take pride in?" Some of Tom's friends nearby nodded in agreement with him. They were looking down on me with disdain. I hesitated for a moment but decided to stick to my beliefs. I'm living a fulfilling life. Sure, I've faced financial hardships, but they've shaped who I am today. After all, it's not about being an elite or not. Everyone has their own path in life. Tom seemed displeased by my response. His face showed discomfort as he continued to glare at me. Suddenly, he came up with something, his look disdainful. "Why are you even here? Shouldn't someone who only finished middle school stick to their own kind?" I remained calm in my response. "This is a reunion for all of us, right? I'm just here to enjoy it like everyone else." Tom then laughed mockingly. "A reunion is for elites, right? With someone like you here, a middle school dropout, it ruins the whole vibe." He exaggerated his laughter, looking down on me and signaling to those around us. The group returned his smile, seemingly following his lead. "Why do you look down on me so much, Tom? Even if I were an elite, I wouldn't want to be someone who looks down on others like you do." Tom, looking smug, replied, "Success in the elite world is for the chosen few. People like you, from the lower ranks, trying to challenge it is just laughable." His words about treating people as being on the bottom rung made me furious. But I decided to respond calmly, containing my anger. Whatever form it may take, success is the result of individual effort and conviction, right? There's no need to look down on others just because you're an elite. Tom scoffed and raised his voice to the others. "Elites are the chosen ones, the successful. That's why people like us can't be understood by those at the bottom." His words spread among the others, creating a tense atmosphere. Indeed, I was the only one there who had only finished up to middle school. I suddenly felt isolated. But I was determined not to lose my pride. I chose to remain silent. This strategy seemed to work. My silence highlighted Tom's unpleasant nature, and in contrast, my dignified attitude made a different impression on everyone. Tom seemed to sense that the reunion's atmosphere was turning against him. Changing his approach, He looked at me with a seemingly curious expression and asked, "Hey, Jake, what's your annual income?" Caught off guard by the sudden question, I hesitated before I answered. "Well, it's about $15,000, so." Tom burst into laughter, gesturing at his friends. "He earns $15,000 a year. Can you even live on that?" Despite his cutting words, I kept my cool. I'm not struggling to live, and money isn't the only measure of a person. Skill and money don't always correlate, do they? Tom dismissed my words with a sneer. "If we're talking about skill, my income must be several times yours, right? That's the difference between a dropout and an elite." The mood of the reunion soured to Tom. His arrogance caused discomfort among the others. Their expressions grew tense. Why is Tom acting like that? We're all just trying to have a good time. Yeah, Jake is standing firm in his own way of life, while Tom just looks down on everyone. What does he want to do? My friends felt the awkwardness but tried to ease the atmosphere. I moved away from Tom, joining Mike and others. "Sorry about that. It seems like I ruined the mood." "Why are you apologizing, Jake? It's Tom who's being ridiculous. Don't you have something to say back to him?" "It's okay. I don't want to make things worse." Despite the uneasy air, I tried to enjoy the conversations with my friends. However, Tom persisted in following me around. "Hey, Jake, your being here ruins even a nice restaurant like this." His harsh words made our friends uncomfortable. "Tom, can't you be normal for once? Reunions are supposed to be fun, right? Being normal is for average people like you guys. I'm an elite, remember. No matter if you're elite or not, looking down on others is just wrong." Yet Tom continued, smugly looking down on me with a smirk. I could see my friends were feeling uneasy, but I wanted to preserve the pleasant time I had with them. However, every time Tom spoke, the reunion atmosphere worsened. The warmth of friendship and happy memories seemed to fade because of his attitude. Then, I noticed something odd about Tom's behavior. He seemed overly conscious of something. Watching him closely, it became apparent that Tom was trying to show off his elite status whenever the beautiful catering manager of the restaurant appeared. "This place is so popular, it's hard to get a reservation. I got us in today using my name. That's the privilege of being an elite," he boasted loudly, glancing at the manager to ensure she heard him. She smiled politely but appeared to be just tolerating his behavior. Eventually, Tom grabbed her shoulder, trying to force her attention on him. "You know, talking to an elite like me could be beneficial for you." The manager, maintaining her professional smile, gently removed his hand, but Tom persisted. "This atmosphere's getting unpleasant. Tom is overdoing it with his elite act, don't you think?" "Yeah, and wasn't it Mike who actually made the reservation for this place? Tom didn't do anything." I listened to their conversation while keeping an eye on Tom. Eventually, I saw him speaking loudly into the manager's ear. "Let's meet outside sometime. I know a lot of great places around here. Being an elite banker, I often use them for entertaining. If you dine with me, I might choose this place for my next business dinner." The manager, still smiling, deftly avoided his advances. "Thank you. The best places are where everyone can enjoy and smile, regardless of their status." Tom kept pushing his elite status, clearly causing discomfort among us. As the atmosphere of the reunion grew tense, I decided to leave early. "Sorry about that, Jake. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. It's not your fault, Mike, but I was really happy to see everyone after such a long time. Thanks." Just as I was about to leave the restaurant, the general manager, John, appeared from the back. "Oh, Jake, are you leaving already?" "Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable here." Everyone was stunned to see me chatting normally with John. John continued talking, remaining unfazed. "Ah, that's the guy who was scolded by his boss here before, right? I'm surprised he has the nerve to show his face here again." John then glanced at Tom and deliberately addressed me. "Jake, Your bill is on the house. On the house. But I thought today's fees were already pretty low. At that point, Mike, coming back to his senses from the surprising turn of events, asked with a shocked expression. What, Jake? You know the general manager of this place? John proudly responded. Yes, Jake is the owner of this restaurant. That's why we were able to squeeze in a reservation for this reunion. It's because we're an acquaintance of the owner. The owner? The whole room buzzed at that revelation. That's why I didn't want to say it. Sorry for keeping quiet, Mike, but since you found and booked this place, it was hard to bring it up. No, wait, you being the owner is amazing. I had stumbled upon an Italian restaurant back then and was given the opportunity to work there, learning about service and cooking. At the same time, Ronald taught me the basics of business. I couldn't continue formal education, but he provided me with many opportunities to learn about society. He took me to various restaurants, business seminars, and even overseas inspections. He was quite a business person himself, having established around 10 branches and still thriving. Thanks to his training, I learned the ropes of business and became independent 3 years ago. Now, as an owner of about 5 restaurants, I'm managing them thanks to what I learned from him. A high school dropout as an owner, Tom still couldn't believe what he heard. Tom, you've used this place a few times, it seems. I appreciate it. But last time you were here, you got yelled at by someone from a company you were dealing with, right? Something about a mistake in the numbers by 2 digits. I happened to be here and heard the shouting. Exposed in front of everyone, Tom turned bright red. Oh, and the manager you've been trying to woo since a while ago. She's my wife. What? As I said that, the beautiful catering manager discreetly waved at me. But earlier, you said your annual income was just $15,000. Tom shouted desperately. Seeing this, I slowly shook my head and answered. I didn't get to finish earlier. That $15,000 was actually the amount of my property tax this year. I was just discussing it with my accountant when he called. If your property tax is $15,000, that means your annual income must be around $200,000. That's amazing. Jake, Mike, who works at an accounting firm, quickly did the math for me. 200,000. Tom seemed lost for words. It's not about earning $200,000. I don't consider myself superior for it. A person's worth isn't measured in money, but just out of curiosity. What's your annual income, Tom? This is exactly what they mean by being left speechless. Tom, visibly frustrated and turning red, stomped his feet. I am an elite. My success is the proof of that. But you got scolded for a simple mistake by a client and your boss, right? As his true nature was revealed, Tom became increasingly isolated. Naturally, people started keeping their distance from him. Meanwhile, people began gathering around me. Success is the result of individual effort and belief. No matter the position, we are all human after all. By the time the reunion was ending, Tom had disappeared. I later heard that due to his repeated simple mistakes at work, he was being transferred to a remote island in the next personnel change. Certainly, even elites have their own troubles. As for me, I'm about to open a new restaurant soon. The restaurants I own all specialize in fresh seafood and have a warm, home-like atmosphere. This is all thanks to what I learned from my parents, the factory workers, and Ronald, who helped me back then. Success isn't everything. It's human warmth, friendship, and love that bring true richness to life. My name is Michael. I'm a 28-year-old company employee. I work for a construction-related company. Since I joined this company right after graduating from high school, my career spans over 10 years now. Despite that, perhaps because I've been so engrossed in my work, these 10 years have flown by in the blink of an eye. I love my current job. That's because I have a dream I want to fulfill through my work. My dream is to become a top-notch architect and to build a house for my family. I love my family as much as, if not more than, my job. My family of 5, including my parents, younger brother, and younger sister, has always faced hardships together and supported each other. That's where I've always wanted to build a dream house for such a family, one that's comfortable, spacious, and relaxing. To put it bluntly, my family was quite poor. The 5 of us lived in a cramped, run-down apartment having only 2 bedrooms where we huddled together. In such a house, I never had my own room growing up, let alone my own desk. I was raised in a home where you would always see someone else no matter where you were. Moreover, our poverty was quite severe. We never had our water cut off, but there were times when we couldn't pay the electricity bill, and it would be cut off, and the gas was often shut off as well. Not being able to use hot water showers in the dead of winter is something I still remember as hellish. Yet, our home was always bright. Both my parents believed in living happily even if we were poor, and even when we shared the little food we had, they made it fun. That's why I've never resented my parents for our poverty. On the contrary, I'm only grateful to my parents for raising us even in such circumstances. The main reason our family was poor was that my father had always been frail and couldn't work long hours. Due to his chronic illness, he found it hard to work a full day and often had to quit jobs soon after starting due to his health. As a result, he struggled to find stable employment. In his place, my mother worked. Unlike my father, my mother was healthy and robust, and she firmly believed that those who can work should work. There's no rule that only fathers have to work, and took it upon herself to earn the income instead, considering it perfectly natural. However, in our family, with me being the eldest of 3 children, my mother played the triple role of childcare, housework, and work from dawn till dusk, always operating at full capacity, as far as I can remember. Moreover, she often had to take care of my father as well, so she couldn't become a full-time employee. She couldn't predict when my father might become ill, so she had to choose jobs that allowed for flexible hours. Moreover, my father's medical expenses were astonishingly high. That further exacerbated our family's constant lack of money. Still, without a single complaint, my mother encouraged our family, while running between 3 part-time jobs, supporting the household, taking care of my father, and raising us. That's why we think we can never turn our backs on our mother in this lifetime. Thanks to her, despite being poor and having a sick father, I never felt dissatisfied with my family. The only thing I often wished for was a slightly larger house. If we had just one more room where Dad could rest properly, he might be able to rest his body more. After all, right now, he's sleeping right next to where everyone's eating, so he can't possibly sleep peacefully. I wish my sister had a room where she could concentrate on her studies. She loves books so much. I want to give her the chance to study more. Always thinking this way, I happened to learn about the profession of an architect one day by chance. And it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that moment changed my life. It was while I was waiting for a friend in the high school library, flipping through a book that caught my eye by chance. I picked up that book purely by coincidence. The title was something like The Work of Architects, a sort of photo collection of houses built by famous architects around the world. Having hardly ever visited other people's homes and knowing only my own, it's needless to say that the content was a shock to me. What is this? The entrance hall alone is as big as my entire house. 2 wash basins, that's unheard of. The closet is practically a room in its own right. Every page unfolded a world I had never seen before. With each page I turned, I was amazed anew. Layouts, furnishings, and numerous rooms I had never seen before kept appearing one after another. And there were interviews with the architects who designed those homes. I designed a home where everyone can live happily. I designed a home where the family naturally gathers. I tried to create a home where you can relax as if you were in a hotel. Such comments captivated me. And suddenly, I felt a strong desire to build such homes. I wanted to build a spacious home where my family could live comfortably. This was the moment I decided to become an architect. I caught my teachers and bombarded them with questions about how to become someone who builds houses. Mr. Parker, I want to be someone who builds big houses. How can I become one? I had been rather laid back until then, so I think Mr. Parker was quite surprised when I suddenly started talking about my future dreams. Yet, he kindly listened to my questions. I learned that there are various jobs involved in house building, including designing the house, actually constructing it, and selling it. With that knowledge, I decided to become someone who designs. An architect, that is. The simplest and most effective way to become an architect was to go to a university and study in an architecture department. Graduating would at least qualify me to take the exam. However, there was a problem for me. I couldn't afford to go to university in the first place. My family's finances were always in a state of emergency, especially dire at the time. My father's illness had worsened, and we were receiving astronomical medical bills every month due to his continuous hospitalizations. Even attending a public high school was a stretch for us, something I fully understood. And I had a younger sister and a brother. My sister was quiet but good at studying, and I hoped to send her to university if possible. My brother was athletically gifted, and I wanted him to continue playing soccer. Money was already tight, and there were going to be more expenses for the younger two. In such circumstances, it was unthinkable for me, who had no particular talent, to ask to go to university. So I decided to get a job immediately after graduating high school. But my mother knew I had been secretly looking at architecture magazines and seemed to have a sense of what I wanted to do. "Michael, don't you really want to go to university?" I can still take on more part-time jobs. You'll need to take out student loans too, but if you want to go to university, you can." She even said things like that. But I shook my head to my mother's words. "It's okay. I can definitely achieve what I want to do while working." My mother suggested university several more times, but I steadfastly refused each time. I joined a mid-tier general contractor company. Originally, the company didn't hire high school graduates as new employees, but Mr. Parker from my high school, who knew about my dream, went out of his way to visit the company and ask them to hire me. It's not a big deal to go and ask for a favor if you have finally found your dream, Mr. Parker said with a smile, then added seriously. "You don't have to go to university to become an architect. Work at this company for the first 10 years. Once you've accumulated enough practical experience, you'll be eligible to take the exam. In the meantime, study about construction and architecture more diligently than anyone else. You can do it. Go for it." Even though Mr. Parker wasn't my homeroom teacher, he encouraged me like this. He might have simply sympathized with my family situation, but I believed in his words and vowed to work hard to build my dream house someday. My first assignment was what you might call field work. All my colleagues who had graduated from university were assigned to the head office. Only I, a high school graduate, was sent to the field. Having assumed I would be wearing a suit and working with a computer, my expectations were immediately subverted when I started the job. Instead of a suit, I wore work clothes, carried heavy materials, did tasks akin to security work, ran errands for my seniors, completely different from the job I had imagined. Every day after work, I was drenched in sweat, and my work clothes were covered in dirt. Even for someone like me who doesn't usually sweat the small stuff, commuting on the train in work clothes among businessmen in suits was indeed tough. And because I was new to everything, I often got yelled at by my seniors, and there were countless times I had to grit my teeth and hold back tears. "Hey, Michael, what are you doing? You can't just leave materials there, they'll get ruined. Use your brain a bit. Michael, move all these iron pipes over there. You're skipping lunch until you're done. Despite the unreasonable demands, I endured and dedicated myself to the job. Because I had my family at home, I was able to keep going. With the sole intention of one day giving my family a big house, I worked tirelessly. Eventually, my attitude began to be appreciated, and my seniors started to teach me the intricacies of the job. It seemed that my dedication to working for my family had become well known. Hey, Michael, it's payday today, so you can knock off early. Go bring your earnings home to your family. Thank you. Michael, there's some extra sandwiches today. The leftovers are yours. Eat them yourself or take them home, whatever you like. Really, thank you so much. They even started to show concern for me in such ways. Even though my earnings weren't enough to pull us out of poverty, my father's condition had stabilized somewhat, allowing my sister to aim for university and my brother to attend a high school known for its strong soccer team. Despite being constantly ragged on at the site every day, I was able to persevere thanks to great seniors, a loving family, and having a dream. After 3 solid years of learning the ropes on site, I was transferred to work at the head office. My colleagues on site celebrated my transfer as if it were their own achievement. Even when you start working in a suit, don't forget what you learned here. Architecture relies on the site to exist. Remember that design and sales are nothing without us. I understand. Thank you so much for everything. I was assigned to the sales department next, but on the first day, I felt completely out of place, like a fish out of water. I struggled with everything, from how to answer phones to greetings, especially the proper use of polite words. On site, to my seniors, a simple yep was enough to get by. But in an office job, nobody says yep. I was bewildered by the sudden shift from physical labor to almost exclusively sitting at a computer. Moreover, my colleagues were all university graduates, people who looked like they'd never do field work in their lives. Some already had their architect licenses, and I, without even the qualifications to take the exam, couldn't help feeling inferior. If only I could have gone to university. Though it was unavoidable, I felt the injustice of having to take the long way around and envied my university-educated colleagues, leading to some dark days. But with my heart set on realizing my dream, I persevered through gritted teeth. Then one day, as I was leaving for work in the morning, I found a letter in the mailbox. I usually didn't pay much attention to mail, but this one was sticking out halfway, so I picked it up out of curiosity. It was a letter from an unknown sender. Feeling suspicious, I opened the letter. It contained a strange message. Dear Michael, the day your dream comes true is drawing near. I read the letter over and over, trying to understand its meaning. But no matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't figure out who sent it or what dream it referred to. Yet, that letter somehow planted a small seed of hope in my heart. From that day on, I looked forward to going to work. For some reason, the letter made me feel like I was truly making progress toward my dream. Without any concrete reason, but feeling this way, my feelings of inferiority naturally faded away. I even began to enjoy conversations with my coworkers. Michael, something good happened recently. You seem to be in great spirits. Well, I got this mysterious letter. It made me decide to really go for my dream. A mysterious letter. That sounds interesting. Maybe it's a sign that something amazing is about to happen. I hope so. I have no idea who sent it. I wish I had a clue. As I talked about the letter, the other person would often share his own dream in return. Talking about each other's dreams and hopes brought us closer together. I gradually began to enjoy talking about my dreams. Encouraged by the mysterious words of the letter, I felt compelled to take the necessary steps toward making my dreams come true. Until then, I had been too exhausted from work to do anything but sleep when I got home, but I started a new routine of working at the company during the day and studying late into the night to obtain my architect's license. My colleagues supported me in this endeavor. Michael, if there's anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me anything. Yeah, thanks. Actually, I wanted to ask about this page. Studying late into the night after work was sometimes tiring and made me sleepy. But the words in the letter gave me strength. And a few years later, I finally seemed to be qualified to take the exam. At that moment, I felt all my efforts were rewarded. Yes. My next goal was to pass the exam and get license of architect. Then I was assigned to the design department. Although there was a lot to learn from scratch again, I gradually began to be involved in design work. My colleagues were friendly and very kind. Most of them held an architect's license, making conversations with them enjoyable. Michael, you're aiming to get an architect license next, right? Yeah, now that it's come to this, I'm determined to get the architect license. I believe you can do it, Michael. We're all supporting you, so keep at it. I continued to study hard while working. Of course, it was for my family. My mother, who worked from morning till night even after turning 60, my father, who lived brightly despite his recurring illnesses, my sister, my brother, and there was one more family member for me. My wife, Jessica. I married Jessica not long after I was transferred to the design department. I had been dating Jessica since my days working on site, and she, with her cheerful and kind nature, had always supported me. Wearing a suit to work doesn't make you great. You, who work hard, are really cool. I couldn't afford to live alone and had always lived with my family, but Jessica understood my family situation and background. Not everyone can start working for their family right after high school graduation. Educational background doesn't matter. Michael, you're an amazing person. Jessica would come to our cramped apartment to fold laundry and willingly take care of my father when my mother couldn't leave her work. And when I'm qualified to take the exam, she said, "Congratulations. Next is that you pass the exam, right? I want to help you achieve that dream," and married me. How lucky I was to marry such a wonderful woman. As I savored this happiness, something even more surprising happened. The apartment Jessica found for us as our new home was right next to my parents' place. The apartment had become even more rundown over the years, so it seems we were able to rent it easily. We don't need to live extravagantly just because we're newlyweds. Plus, it's reassuring to have your family close by. Jessica quickly became close with my family, and my sister and brother became as fond of her as if she were their real sister. With a wonderful family and a fulfilling job, I was truly a blessed man. But I was not so fortunate with my boss. The head of the design department, Daniel, was particularly hard on me from the beginning. I remember when I was first assigned, he said in front of me, "What's HR thinking? Bringing in a high school graduate. He won't be of any use," making it clear he had it out for me. Daniel believed that academic credentials were everything and seemed to thoroughly look down on me for being a high school graduate. One day, Daniel was irritated about something that hadn't gone well. Noticing me, he approached with a smirk. "Michael, I hear you have experience on construction sites. Wouldn't that suit you better as a high school graduate? Academic background is important for an architect. This job is simply beyond you." As I couldn't say a word, he suddenly seemed to have an idea. "All right, let's give it a try. I'll add you to the design team for a new project. I'll give you a chance to improve your skills, so do your best." I thanked Daniel for his words, not realizing his face was twisted with malice. This project was a big one that even Daniel was involved in, essentially a make or break for the company. Excited to finally be involved in a project, I rushed home to tell Jessica all about it. I've finally been recognized as a full-fledged member. Jessica was as happy for me as if it were her own achievement. Congratulations. Do your best. However, my joy was cruelly betrayed. The tasks assigned to me on that team were frankly nothing more than menial chores. Copying documents for meetings, arranging for coffee and lunches, organizing transportation. I thought I had finally taken a step towards a new path, but it seems Daniel had no such intentions. He just wanted to bask in a sense of superiority by having me, the errand boy, around. In meetings with people from other companies, Daniel would deliberately point out my mistakes, berate me, and smirk, making me hold back tears of frustration time and again. Hey, Michael, this document is missing a crucial page. Can't high school graduates even make copies properly? Hey, Michael, who wants to eat fried food in the middle of a meeting? Think about the attendees' preferences. Even a high school graduate has a brain, right? The documents Daniel had given me were already missing a page from the start, and it was Daniel who had instructed me to order the fried food special lunch. But pointing that out would only lead to harsher treatment from him, which was clear as day. So, I couldn't tell anyone the truth and just had to swallow my pride. Well, there was one person who would listen to my complaints. My wife, Jessica. Jessica had an enveloping aura about her, and I found myself telling her about everything that happened at work every night. Michael, you sound just like a little boy. Even as she said this, Jessica would listen attentively to my stories. Maybe I was drawn to her maternal nature. As a child, with my mother often away at work, I had no one to share my daily experiences with. So perhaps I was overly dependent on Jessica. Daniel told me to find lunch with plenty of fried food to power up, and then, in front of everyone, he deliberately opened a box lid and completely rejected the lunch I had ordered. It's really terrible, but he must be jealous of your talent. Keep at it, and you'll prove him wrong someday. Just hearing Jessica say that made me feel like I could keep going the next day. But Daniel's harassment only grew worse day by day. Then, one day, a major incident occurred. That day, there was a significant meeting for the project at our company. Other companies involved in the project were also gathering, so I remember the morning being particularly hectic. As usual, I was swamped with menial tasks, setting up the meeting room, preparing documents, and arranging various small details. Especially since Daniel had suddenly decided to change some documents at the last minute, adding to the chaos. Finally, when the preparations were done and we were just waiting for the members to arrive, I noticed something was amiss. The paper bag I had placed on my desk had vanished into thin air. I was sure I had brought it and remembered placing it on my desk that morning. I searched around my desk and even on other people's desks, but it was nowhere to be found. After all, the bag contained something important, so I wouldn't have placed it on the floor or anywhere other than my desk. I approached a colleague nearby. "Excuse me, have you seen the paper bag that was on my desk?" "Oh, I think I saw Daniel take it earlier, maybe." "Daniel took it? For what?" "I don't know the details, but I saw him rummaging through the bag and then he just walked away with it." I had a bad feeling about this. Could it be? I hurried to find Daniel and asked about the bag. "Daniel, I have something I'd like to ask you about." Then, he responded with words I could never have anticipated. "Oh, you mean that bag? Since you brought it in clutching it to your chest, I checked inside as your supervisor." As a supervisor, but no supervisor has the right to touch someone else's belongings without permission. And then, I saw something dull-colored, like trash. When I took it out, it turned out to be a hand-knitted sweater. Yes, what I had brought that day was a sweater knitted by my wife, Jessica. But it was so poorly made and tacky that I threw it away, sorry. Hearing that, I was simply dumbstruck. Jessica spent a whole year knitting it. It was a true masterpiece. I found myself muttering, "You're finished." "Huh? Just then, someone entered the room. "Hey, this paper bag was thrown away outside. What's the deal with this?" Holding the paper bag I had brought in one hand, the person asked with a stern face. "Mr. Thompson." Yes, it was Mr. Thompson, the president of our company, who had entered. Mr. Thompson continued to ask in a stern tone, "Who threw away this paper bag?" It seemed that Daniel also realized there was some connection between the paper bag and Mr. Thompson. Daniel was momentarily at a loss for words. But since everyone in the room had witnessed Daniel's and my exchange, he couldn't deny his involvement. With a forced smile, he said, "Well, this paper bag brought by Michael here contained something like a sweater, but the knitting was all messed up and it looked tacky, so I took it upon myself to throw it away." Watching Daniel explain with a smug smile, Mr. Thompson's expression grew even more severe. "So, you're saying you threw away someone's belongings without saying a word to Michael?" "Well, yes, but it was all for the company." "For the company?" "Yes, if someone wore such a tacky and tasteless sweater at the company, it would affect our company's dignity." Then Mr. Thompson said sharply, "Sorry for the lack of taste." Daniel looked up at Mr. Thompson with a confused expression, and Mr. Thompson glared at him fiercely. "This sweater was knitted by my niece for me. I don't think it's your place to criticize it." "Niece? But why would Michael have it?" I looked straight at Daniel and said, "Because she's my wife." "What?" "Jess, in fact, Jessica is Mr. Thompson's brother's daughter. Jessica's biological parents had died in an accident when she was very young. Since then, Mr. Thompson had almost taken on the role of a parent, raising Jessica. However, Mr. Thompson had 3 children of his own, so life wasn't always easy for Jessica. Although they were wealthy, it seems she lived feeling out of place and constantly holding back. Having lost her parents at a young age and grown up without knowing what a family was, Jessica said she felt truly happy when she met our family. Becoming a part of our family, she began to feel gratitude towards Mr. Thompson, who had raised her. As a token of gratitude, Jessica knitted the sweater, despite not being used to it, with all her might. Yesterday, Jessica had called Mr. Thompson to express her gratitude directly. "It's really poorly made, but I knitted a sweater for you, Uncle. I know you're sensitive to the cold, so I hoped it might keep you a bit warmer." I could hear Mr. Thompson's voice, choked with tears, thanking her repeatedly over the phone. Hearing Mr. Thompson's words, both Jessica and I were moved to tears. But now, that very sweater had been thrown away by Daniel. Mr. Thompson said, with as much anger in his voice as possible, "I'm not angry because it was a gift from my niece. I'm angry that someone in this company would stoop so low as to throw away someone else's belongings. You understand what this means, right?" "And that would be..." Mr. Thompson didn't say anything else but turned away from Daniel and faced me again. "I had intended to look out for you, but I didn't realize you were being treated so poorly. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner." I stopped Mr. Thompson, who seemed about to apologize. "Please don't apologize, Mr. Thompson. I plan to prove Daniel wrong in my own way." Mr. Thompson looked surprised for a moment, probably having heard from Jessica that I was aiming to get an architect license. Then he smiled. "Right. I've often heard about you within the company. The site supervisors have praised you as well, and I'm confident you'll do just fine." Mr. Thompson placed his hand on my shoulder, squeezing it reassuringly as he spoke. Then, turning back to Daniel with a stern expression, he declared, "I'm disappointed at you. I'll give you my decision on this matter within a few days." Daniel was still in a daze. "Yes." Throughout the project meeting that day, Daniel seemed utterly dispirited. Whenever he was asked a question, he would stutter, "Oh yes, well," causing nothing but frustration for the others. Meanwhile, I was able to provide clear answers to all questions posed. Even though I had only been assigned menial tasks for the project, I had secretly read through all the documents and researched any information I thought necessary. I knew the content better than anyone else. It seemed Mr. Thompson had been observing me from behind. At the end of the day's meeting, Mr. Thompson called me aside and unexpectedly praised me. "You have potential. You should be more involved in this project. Starting tomorrow, you'll replace Daniel as the leader." Mr. Thompson added, "Please tell Jessica thank you for the sweater, and tell her she's found a good husband." From the next day, I was involved in the project as the leader, and somehow we managed to complete the building over the course of a year. I was worried whether the team would follow my sudden leadership, but it seemed everyone had seen my efforts all along. "Michael, you can do it. We've got your back, so keep it up." Work became busier, but thanks to continuing my studies at night, I successfully passed the architect exam. At that moment, Jessica smiled and shared with me. It turned out just like the letter said. I was the one who sent it. Daniel was transferred to the field shortly thereafter. But having never worked outside of an office before, it seems he couldn't cope. He resigned soon after, and nobody knows what became of him. Now that I've found a bit of free time, I'm working towards realizing my dream: a home for my family. When the house is completed, we'll be able to start a new life in a new place. I'm excited about creating a new space where my family's happiness can flourish. "Hey old man, go do the rounds of greetings at our clients for me." The commanding tone of Jackson as he orders me around. Maybe it's about time to reveal the truth. Jess, understood. I nodded with a smile. Jackson seemed to lose interest in me quickly, but those around us watched me warily. Even to them, I directed a smile, causing them to flinch. Such rude people. Well then, I'll be off. With that thought, I headed to the client's place, still smiling. "Oh, isn't this Thomas? We were informed that someone from the headquarters would come to greet us, but I never expected it to be you. When did you return?" I apologize for the delayed greetings. It's been a while. Upon my arrival, the client seemed quite surprised but welcomed me with a smile. "It's a pleasure to work with you again." Such kind words. I'm flattered that you would say that even to someone as inexperienced as myself. Don't be modest. Your company has grown to this extent thanks to you, Thomas. At the client's words, I smiled. I am Thomas, an old man working in the countryside with my beloved wife. I was born into a so-called Pula family. Our family had been running a factory for generations and earned a decent living, but that only lasted until my grandfather's time. During my father's time, we were hit by a recession and ended up going bankrupt. I'm sorry, Thomas. It's not your fault, Dad. I'll work hard too. At that time, I was a high school student. From then on, I juggled school and part-time jobs, actively doing chores at home. Honestly, I had no time to play, couldn't make friends, and even faced bullying at school. Thomas, take this if you like. I made too much. All these sweets. Thank you always, Liz. Liz, who would later become my wife, always looked out for me. She would bring me homemade sweets when I was working for hunger, and defended me when I was falsely accused during a theft incident in the class. I've cherished the kind and strong Liz since then. Being with someone like me will only cause you trouble, Liz. What's that matter? As long as we stay together, we can overcome any hardship. It seemed she felt the same. Though I tried to leave Liz for her, she followed me. Thomas, I love how you always try to move forward, no matter the situation. Thank you, Liz. Will you be with me? Yes, of course. With Liz by my side, I was able to overcome any difficulty. Apart from her, I had another close friend. Thomas, please help me out. Sure, use me as much as you need. Counting on you. We don't have time to stand still. Whenever I felt down, my friend Alex was always there to pull me up. He was born into a wealthy family, the complete opposite of me. We met in middle school. Hey, do you want to hang out together? Really, can I? Of course. Becoming friends with him, who seemed out of place in the classroom, started with me reaching out. He defended me in high school and often encouraged me with "it's going to be okay," making him a friend I'm proud of. By the way, I never hung out with Alex just because he was wealthy. I always wanted to have an equal relationship as friends. That's probably why we're still able to maintain our friendship. And now, I'm working at the company he started. However, due to various circumstances, I'm not at the headquarters but at a branch in the countryside. What a lovely day. Liz, would you like to go for a walk? Oh, that sounds nice. How about we make a picnic and eat outside? I'm looking forward to it. Even so, I live peacefully amidst clean air. I was perfectly happy with my life as it was. Thomas, it's been a while. Long time. What's happened? One day, I got a message from Alex. He wanted me to come back to the headquarters soon. Could you give me a little time to think? I want to discuss it with Liz. All right, let me know once you've made up your mind. I couldn't accept it right away. The reason was simple. Both Liz and I liked our countryside life. We couldn't easily let go of this life. However, if Alex is specifically asking, there might be some issue at the headquarters. But if Alex is asking for your help, there must be something, right? I was thinking that too, but I'll be fine. Maybe it's worth going back to the headquarters for a while. After a thorough discussion with Liz, we decided to respond to Alex's call. And so, we returned to the city for the first time in 20 years. We rented an apartment for the time being and planned to sell our current house. As we packed, various memories flashed through my mind. Walking with Liz, playing with the neighborhood kids, and energizing the local festivals. It's hard to leave, isn't it? Thomas, are you done over there? Yeah, all done. Shall we go? Leaving was hard, but Liz's call prompted me to leave the house. The city, crowded with people, was honestly exhausting after a long absence. However, the variety of things in stores, different from the countryside, was refreshing and fun. I'm kind of tired. Yet, you seem to be smiling. Oh, really? Liz also seemed to be enjoying herself, which reassured me. And a few days later, I finally stepped into the headquarters. Long time no see, Thomas. Michael, it's been a while. In the lobby, I was greeted by Alex's younger brother, Michael. It turns out my new department is where he works. He was waiting here to guide me. I see, thanks, I'm counting on you. Yes, looking forward to working with you. I thanked him and entered the floor together while making small talk. Running late today, Michael. Then, a man approached Michael. He looked familiar, but I just couldn't place him. Yeah, I was guiding Thomas, who will be working in our department from today. A newbie, looks like an old man. Hey, that's rude. The man snorted dismissively and returned to his desk. Instead, Michael apologized to me. I'm sorry, Thomas. No worries. Who was he? After asking Michael, I finally learned his name. He is Jackson, a young department head and Michael's colleague. I don't mean to be rude, but is he okay? He's not a bad person. I couldn't help but sense trouble with Michael's wry smile. For the rest of the day, I greeted people here and there, checked on my future work, and went home early as it was my first day. Welcome back. How was the company? I met Michael. Michael, that's Alex's brother, right? Liz seemed nostalgic at my words. She also knows Michael. Maybe we should arrange a dinner once we settle down. Hey, Thomas, there's something I'd like to ask. What's up? I want to go to work part-time. According to Liz, she finished the housework early and got bored staying home all day. Back in the countryside, she used to take care of the kids after school. She probably dislikes having nothing to do during that time. Of course, that's fine, but promise me you won't overdo it. Yes, I promise. Liz happily started looking for part-time job listings at my words. Seeing her like this, I decided not to bring up Jackson. I can handle the company issues on my own. Good morning, Thomas. Good morning. Oh, where's the manager? The next day, when I arrived at work, the manager was nowhere to be seen. At my question, Michael awkwardly looked away. When I talked to some familiar colleagues, I learned that Jackson being late is quite common. And sometimes, he even leaves work to go somewhere. Why doesn't anyone say anything? And how can someone like that hold a managerial position? Well, he's the son of the executive vice president. Hearing this, I understood the sense of deja vu from yesterday. I'm well aware of the EVP, and I had seen Jackson before I moved to the branch. The EVP is known to be strict with both outsiders and his own family. It's hard to imagine he would tolerate such behavior from his son. And technically, wouldn't you have a higher position? There are some complex circumstances involved. I'll explain more about it another time. Also, I haven't told anyone about my brother. Michael, being the president's brother, would likely have a higher status than Jackson, the EVP's son. However, Michael prefers to compete on his own merits and keeps his background hidden. Leave him to me. After all, we started here at the same time, Michael said confidently. This gave me a hint as to why Alex called me back to headquarters. Michael has a bit of a stubborn streak and seems to harbor a sort of rivalry towards his brother, Alex. He probably doesn't want to rely on Alex. Knowing this, Alex might have placed me in this department to help out, considering my long-standing rapport with Michael. Since I've known Michael for a long time and he's fond of me, I don't mind assisting him. We started working together, discussing various matters as we went along. Chatting while working, you seem quite at ease. About an hour after work started, Jackson finally showed up. It's not like that. How about you catch up on the work you missed? You should be teaching the old man properly. I don't want any dead weight around. Despite Jackson's immediate provocation, I just smiled wryly and kept on with my tasks. After finishing my own work, I helped Michael with his. Thanks to you, I didn't have to do overtime today. Listening to Michael laugh, I learned that he's been taking on Jackson's workload. That's why he has to do overtime recently. It's one thing for Jackson to shirk his duties, but for Michael to accept this situation is another matter entirely. Seeing Michael's weary smile, I found myself deep in thought about what could be done. It's been about a month since I returned to headquarters, and time has passed so quickly. By then I had enough emotional leeway to look around the company. That woman. I noticed a middle-aged woman standing in front of the company, glaring towards it. She was glaring towards the company. That must be the one. I murmured to myself while observing her. After speaking only to the security, she left. The woman seems to be involved in Jackson's situation, a topic Michael had briefed me on. This matter was becoming a concern that I knew needed to be addressed. Welcome back, Thomas. You look tired. Are you okay? I'm fine. just a bit worn out from adjusting to the city work again. I wanted to talk to Liz about Jackson's situation, but she might be tired from her new part-time job. Bringing it up made me hesitate. How's everything going for you, Liz? It's going smoothly. My colleagues at the part-time job have been really kind. I listened to Liz without talking about myself. She's intuitive, so she might have sensed something was up. Yet, she engaged in the conversation with me. I silently appreciated her for that, nodding along to her stories. One day, I was called into the president's office and had a long talk with Alex. Sorry for the sudden call. No worries. What's going on? Well, I'm thinking it's about time to take action. When I returned to the department, Michael was nowhere to be seen. It seems he was out on field visits. Ah, damn, what a hassle. Meanwhile, Jackson was irritably fiddling with his phone. Suddenly, our eyes met as he looked up. And then, Jackson smirked. Thomas, come here. Yes. He knew my name. With that thought, I obediently walked towards Jackson. I was supposed to greet our clients, but something urgent came up, so you'll have to go. Me? Yes. Jackson told me with a laugh. Old man, go do the client greetings for me. Jackson commanded arrogantly. It might be time to reveal the truth. Yes, understood. I nodded with a smile. Jackson seemed to lose interest quickly, but others around us watched me warily. Smiling back at them, they flinched in surprise. How rude. Well then, I'll be off. Thinking this, I headed to the clients with a smile. Following my declaration, I went on a round of greetings. Is that you, Thomas? We heard someone from your company would come to greet us, but I never expected it to be you. When did you return? Sorry for the delayed greetings. It's been a while. When I visited the client, they were quite surprised but welcomed me with a smile. By coincidence, the client was someone I had worked with several times before moving to the branch, and it was nostalgic to see they hadn't changed much. You've really mellowed out, Thomas. Well, I'm getting on in years. We chatted for a while and also discussed work. Eventually, we agreed on a new contract. My visit might have been the right decision. I'm glad to be working with you again. You flatter me. I'm honored to receive such praise, especially considering my inexperience. Don't be modest. Your presence has significantly contributed to our growth. I smiled at the client's words. Please, let's keep in touch, Vice President. Indeed, I hold the position of Vice President. I haven't openly revealed my identity, but long-standing employees and associates know me. I think I have more authority than the Executive Vice President. After that, I returned straight to the company. Thomas. Jess, I've just returned. Upon entering the floor, Jackson approached me in a fluster. It seems that after I left there, the client called, intending to speak with Jackson. He was then told, "We didn't expect the Vice President to come. We wish you had informed us beforehand." When Jackson asked what that was about, he was met with a "you don't know" and ended up feeling embarrassed. Wait, you're really the VP? Despite this, it seems Jackson still can't believe it. Well, it's true that I haven't shown my face at the branch office since I started working there, and only my name is listed on the website. That's the truth. After all, Thomas is a friend of my brother. At that moment, Michael came and answered on my behalf. Then Jackson tilts his head in confusion. Brother? The president, Alex, is my real brother. Jackson's eyes widen in surprise at those words, and he freezes. I then shared my own story with him. I've found you, Thomas. Alex. Initially, I was hired at a restaurant after high school. Alex, who was planning to start his own business after graduating from college, came to that restaurant. "Thomas, please help me out." "Sure, with anything. I'm counting on you. We don't have time to stand still." Then, he recruited me to start the business together. I became a founding member and was given the position of VP. The company, which was small at first, grew gradually, and by the time executives like Michael and the EVP joined, it had grown large enough to have several branches. By then, I had also married Liz, and I was enjoying a successful life both personally and professionally. However, trouble arose. "Alex, I'm sorry, but I have to move to the branch office with Liz. I'll miss you, but it can't be helped. I'll leave the branch office in your hands." "Sure, I've got it." So I chose to go to the rural branch office with Liz. Since then, I've been moving between branch offices from time to time, continuing my work. The VP, wasn't there a rumor about him when we joined a company? Yeah, that's the rumored VP, and he's the mastermind behind our flagship product. Actually, our flagship product was my creation. Before my family's factory went under, I helped with the factory work while coming up with new product ideas. But before I could produce the new product myself, the factory went bankrupt. I never thought it would see the light of day. Let's bring that idea to fruition. Alex, who knew about the idea, made it a reality. Now, it has become our flagship product, which I have been directly supervising and improving at the branch office. I'm truly sorry. After hearing our story, Jackson deeply apologized to me. Seeing his demeanor, I thought to myself that he really wasn't a bad person. "Now, would you both come with me for a moment?" Michael suggested this, so we stopped the apologies for now and followed him. And he led us to the president's office. "I've brought them both." "Oh, thank you." There were Alex and the EVP. The EVP seemed to be in deep thought, but when he noticed me, he came over to apologize. "I'm sorry for the trouble my son has caused." "No, there's no need for you to apologize." Hearing my words, he looked towards his son, Jackson. "You understand what you've done, right?" "Yes, I'm prepared to face any consequences." Jackson, looking remorseful, quietly awaited his punishment. Seeing him like this, Alex smiled. "You'll be on probation for a while." "Yes, and is there anything else?" For now, that's it." Jackson was taken aback by Alex's words. "Demotion, transfer?" he asked, and was even more surprised when Alex shook his head. "Everyone here knows the situation." The EVP has an ex-wife named Jessica. The cause of their divorce was Jessica's infidelity and mishandling of money. Moreover, she left with her lover, leaving young Jackson behind, so he was raised by his grandparents under the EVP's care. Jackson joined a company on the EVP's recommendation and quickly rose to a managerial position due to his excellent performance and Michael's endorsement. His promotion was based on merit, not simply because he was the EVP's son. My mother reached out around that time. Knowing the situation, Jackson shared his story while looking down. Jessica had been approaching Jackson for money, calling him her proud son. Lately, she had even been lying in wait in front of the company or his home. The woman I saw in front of the company the other day was Jessica. Initially, Jackson ignored her. However, she approached Jackson's pregnant wife, almost causing harm. I rushed over and managed to drive her away, so we avoided trouble. Then, to keep my unborn child safe, we decided to send my wife back to her parents' house early to avoid any further issues with my mother. Despite this, he maintained a firm stance and rejected her advances. The EVP was unaware of this until recently. When I decided to get married, my father told me, "You're a husband now. protect your family with your own hands, so I didn't ask for help easily. I remember. I'm sorry. I should have told you to rely on me anytime. The EVP seemed to regret not offering more support. Jackson's lateness was due to Jessica accosting him during his commute. His absences from his desk were because he was driving her away, who had come to the company. On top of that, my mother would contact me numerous times during the day. I was afraid to block her, worrying she might do something to my wife. That's why I started taking over some of his tasks, because it was beginning to affect his work. The reason the colleagues in the same department didn't say anything was because Michael had explained the situation to them. So, it wasn't that Jackson was overlooked just because he was the EVP's son, but rather, everyone sympathized with him and chose to overlook it. Jackson had a complicated expression upon realizing that everyone knew about his situation. Take some time off and go be with your wife and protect her. That woman won't come near again on my watch. Thank you so much, Jackson said with tears in his eyes. Then, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders, he slumped down right there. Michael chuckled and helped him up. Excuse me. Liz? Liz, who was supposed to be at her part-time job, walked in. This time, I was the one surprised. Sorry, Thomas, I called her here. I wanted to enlist her help, given her background as a counselor. At that, Liz nodded firmly. In fact, Liz had a counseling qualification and was one of the founding members. Her role was that of a corporate counselor. She was popular for her compassionate listening, and many employees were grateful to her, but this led to her getting entangled in interpersonal issues. Stay away from Liz. Thomas. An incident occurred where an employee, who had unilaterally developed feelings for her while consulting with her, tried to make a move. That employee was, of course, fired, but the traumatic experience led Liz to resign as well. Then, I requested a transfer and we moved to the countryside together. The rural atmosphere suited her, and being amidst nature helped her recover, but she couldn't return to her counseling work. So now, she was working a completely unrelated part-time job. Before you go, would you like to talk with me? At Liz's offer, Jackson nodded. Liz, are you sure? Yes, will you stay with me? She said with a smile, and of course, I nodded. Afterward, by the time Jackson was leaving, he looked much relieved and repeatedly expressed his gratitude to us. You all must be tired too. Go home and rest. So, we all decided to head home together. It had been a while since we walked together like this. Hey, how about we take a detour? Let's do that. We decided to go on a date and enjoyed the bustling city streets. The next day, I went to work as usual. Upon arrival, I noticed a commotion in front of the company. Is that the EVP and Jessica? It seemed like they were having an argument. However, as I listened while the EVP calmly rejected her, she was aggressively demanding, I gave birth to him, so you owe me, he's mine. If you want to cut ties, then pay me, and raising her voice. Seeing her raise her bag to swing it at the EVP, I couldn't hold back and shouted. Enough. You have no right to call yourself a mother. Don't involve yourself with his family or this company anymore. My sternness made her flinch with a gasp. When she lost her momentum, the bag didn't hit him but knocked over a potted plant instead. Then, the police arrived, restrained her, and took her away. The demon has returned. The demon VP is still in power, huh? I heard such comments and couldn't help but give a wry smile. In the early days of the company, being young, I was strict in guiding those around me. However, I never resorted to physical violence or personal attacks. Such strictness earned me the nickname of Demon among my colleagues. From my current perspective, the nickname feels quite undesired. Thank you for your help, and sorry for the inconvenience. Not at all. The struggle with her isn't over yet. Please stay strong. Yes, thank you very much. Afterward, I entered my new workspace, the Vice President's office. The resolution of the issues in that department resulted in me receiving a private office. With Jackson and me gone, Michael took the lead, with the entire department collaborating to fill the gap. Thomas, I've come up with a new project idea. I want to hear your thoughts. That sounds good, but do you really need to come here yourself? I gave Alex a wry smile as he entered without knocking. From that point on, I dedicated myself to the new project he brought in. After some time, the project was successfully completed. Our company experienced significant growth once again. Long time no see, Thomas. Ah, Jackson, you're back today, right? Yes. By that time, Jackson had been reinstated at work after his suspension. His child was also safely born. As for Jessica, she was arrested for property damage after knocking over a potted plant and for resisting arrest when she made a scene with the police. My father arranged for a lawyer to get a restraining order against her and to sue for damages for everything she's done to me. This way, she won't be able to show her face to us ever again. Jackson mentioned that this incident led to a thorough discussion with his father. They promised to communicate and support each other more as father and son. My father is completely smitten with his first grandchild. He never shows that stern face in front of the kid. Seeing Jackson laugh so freely, I felt relieved too. Alex and Michael's relationship also changed. Michael was being stubborn because I was treating him like a child. Alex reflected and changed the way he treats him. By supporting Michael, I believe I helped improve their relationship. However, it seems they are not exactly like close brothers, but rather like good rivals at work. Someday, I'll start my own thing and headhunt Thomas. That's not happening. Thomas is mine. They were bantering like this recently. Well, since both were lively and engaged, I thought it was all good. The other day, I was thanked by a senior coworker. That's great. Liz and I continue to do well. Recently, Liz was offered a full-time position from her part-time job. She was happy to be relied upon as an individual, not just as a counselor. I vowed to support her fully, both emotionally and physically. Thomas, shall we go for a walk soon? Yes, I'm coming. Life has been going smoothly both personally and professionally. We recently bought a house and got a dog to help with a lack of exercise, enjoying our walks together. Of course, we deeply love our dog as a member of our family. Jackson wants to bring his kid over to our place. Oh, according to Alex, Michael also mentioned he'd like to come. Maybe we should have a home party sometime. With my beloved wife Liz and our cherished dog, I look forward to maintaining a peaceful and happy life. I headed towards my beloved family with a smile.